While these 6 paramitas may be closely related to one another, there are actually no set orders in which we can practice them. But just as an attempt, let me try to demonstrate how they link to one another. If we were to begin by the paramita of generosity, before we've talked about how the practice of generosity represents our profound acceptance of others besides ourselves. Therefore, starting from the paramita of generosity, we were able to open up our heart and reach out to other people. That's step 1. But after reaching out to other people, we have to follow the paramita of the discipline in making sure that we do not carry out any behavior that will harm other people in the process of our interaction with them. So that's the paramita of discipline. So open our heart, reach out to them, and making sure that as we reach out to them and interact with them, we do not hurt other people. And then there's the need for the paramita of endurance, as things may not always go the way we wish when we deal with the rest of the world. Then there will be the need for us to be patient in dealing with other people, especially those who may make us unhappy. And the next will be the paramita of diligence. So after opening up, reaching out to other people, trying to interact with them in a good way, and making sure that we don't get angry or we don't get easily affected by the situations that may happen. And then we will require the paramita of diligence in continuing to practice the first 3 paramitas. Keep reaching out to other people, keep making sure that we don't cause any harm to them or to ourselves, keep putting up with things that are against our wishes. And then comes the 5th paramita, which is the paramita of concentration. This will require us to focus our mind on practicing the 4 paramitas and in achieving our goals, and at the same time filtering out the thoughts which may give rise to evil, and holding on to the thoughts which may give rise to goodness. And finally, the 6th paramita represents the completion of all first 5 paramitas. In other words, the paramita of wisdom will ensure that all our thoughts and behaviors are in accord with goodness, or even in accord with Dharma. Okay, so that was a basic attempt on seeing how the 6 paramitas link to one another. But what about looking at them separately in simple words? How exactly can the 6 paramitas help us after talking about all this? Okay, let's look at them separately. What can generosity do to us? How does it help us? For one thing, generosity helps us deal with our greed and attachment. Therefore, by practicing generosity, we'll become less attached and less greedy. And as for the paramita of precepts or discipline, it helps us deal with bad body, mind, and speech, or bad body actions. And thirdly, the paramita of patience helps us control our anger. Therefore, it deals with our anger and hatred. And fourthly, the paramita of diligence helps us deal with laziness. And then the meditation paramita, or the paramita of meditation, helps us deal with an unsettled body and mind. Last but not least, wisdom helps us eradicate our ignorance and allows us to see this world the way it really is, to see through their empty nature, to accept the way they are by observing the causes and conditions which lie within them, and to really see this world with a happy and undisturbed mind. So these are how the 6 paramitas can act as cures of unwholesome thoughts and actions. As we have said before, the most important thing about the 6 paramitas is to apply it to our everyday affairs in order to experience them and learn from them and then truly understand their significance. Even the Buddha himself practiced the 6 paramitas in everything that he did. And let us try to demonstrate this with one of the Buddhist sutras. In fact, this is the opening of the Diamond Sutra, where it says, One day at mealtime, the world-honored one put on his robe, took his bowl, and entered the great town of Sravasti to beg for his food. After he had begged from door to door, he returned to his place. When he had taken his meal, he put away his robe and bowl, washed his feet, arranged his seat, and sat down. And let's go back to this at the beginning of this section and divide them up into different parts which belong to the different paramitas. First of all, when we look at one day at mealtime, the world-honored one put on his robe, took his bowl. This part will represent the paramita of discipline. As a monastic, he has to keep the very basic instruments that he had, which is the bowl, and then put on his robe, which acts as in Chinese Buddhism, we call the robe of the field of merit, which are a very important part in an alms procession. Therefore, so we have the paramita of discipline in this first part. When he entered the great town of Sravasti to beg for his food, of course, this part will involve the practice of generosity. Not only he himself, but he also allows those in the town a chance to practice the paramita of generosity by giving food or items to monastics. And in return, the monastics will have to thank them by saying a few words of wisdom and dharma. So in this section, the paramita of generosity can be practiced in both directions. Now thirdly, where it says, after he had begged for food from door to door, he returned from his place. In the Buddha's time, he required his disciples to beg from door to door and only a set amount of households. This was to nurture the monastic's ability of patience or endurance. Why? They have to beg from door to door so that they must not select the richer houses for the better food. And what's more, they also need to give equal opportunity to the poor ones to practice generosity, who are in greater need of the practice of generosity. And what's more, as you beg from door to door, they are expected to accept whatever food has given them, no matter whether it is good, whether it is coarse, or even when it is rotten. They will still have to eat it. So this will include the paramita of patience. Okay, fourthly, when he had taken his meal, he put away his robe and bowl. This represents the paramita of diligence. So after he completes his task of begging for food and eating the food, and he's then required to put away these instruments and to get ready for the next part of his spiritual cultivation. Okay, after that, he washed his food, arranged his seat, and sat down. So just this part will represent the paramita of concentration or meditation. Last but not least, by completing all of the above 5 tasks, it would require the paramita of wisdom. Therefore, in a simple act of begging for food and then eating that food, the Buddha was already demonstrating the 6 paramitas. Okay, let us now use the example of a flower to also demonstrate the 6 paramitas. Okay? And first of all, how does a flower practice the paramita of generosity? It does so by displaying its beauty. So by blossoming and becoming very beautiful, it allows people around it to enjoy its beauty. So by this giving away of happiness and giving away of beauty, the flower demonstrates the paramita of generosity. And secondly, how does the flower practice the paramita of discipline? In a way, flowers blossom and wilt within a set period of time. And what's more, the flowers do not really grow on other plants like the vine does. Therefore, it never trespasses. So, by sticking to a set period of wilting and blossoming, it displays the spirit of discipline. It doesn't go out of these times and bloom whenever it wants or wilts whenever it wants. It follows the rules of nature and the seasons. And what's more, it does not trespass. Therefore, it does not violate other people's rights to exist without feeling violated. So, by these 2 points, we can see that a flower demonstrates the paramita of discipline. Okay, thirdly, a flower demonstrates the paramita of patience in the following way. For one thing, its seed has to lie in the moist mud and darkness alone before it grows. And after it grows, it has to face harsh weathers and the damage that is caused by bees when they take the honey away. And therefore, by being patient in sitting underneath moist mud and darkness, it demonstrates patience. And by enduring the damage that may be caused by the bees, it's also demonstrating this particular paramita. Fourthly, the paramita of diligence in a flower can be demonstrated by how it always gives its most beautiful and fragrant side to the world. So it gives its best by growing and displaying its best form of beauty. And even when after it wilts, the flower drops onto the ground and turns it into a fertilizer. Or it could even let the pollens to allow life to grow. So all of these are ways to continue its value in life, making its existence in the world count in every way and to allow for future lives to grow. Therefore, this is the demonstration of diligence. And fifthly, the paramita of meditation is demonstrated in a flower by the fact that it grows quietly and calmly, as well as peacefully and stably. And all of these states are states of meditation. Last but not least, the paramita of wisdom displayed or demonstrated in flowers is the fact that they grow in different colors, different shapes, different smells, and so that they're so wondrous that it has been hidden with so much wisdom, just like the human world. As we have said before, the moon outside the same window is made different by the presence of plum blossoms. With the taste of wisdom in the flowers, it makes the world that much more colorful, that much more beautiful. Therefore, in something so simple as a flower, we can already see the demonstration of the 6 paramitas. And imagine what we as human beings can do. Okay, now let's look at the 6 paramitas in general. As we have said before, generosity opens our heart to others. And what about the rest of the 5 paramitas? What can it do? Discipline controls harmful behaviors. Patience controls our anger. Diligence makes steady progress towards our goal. Concentration lives a life founded on profound awareness, while wisdom is to understand the deep source of our behavior and consciousness. And so, if we were to try to describe each of the 6 paramitas in simple words, this will do. And as we come close to our session on the 6 paramitas, there are a few questions that we can ask ourselves. For example, how do we benefit ourselves with the 6 paramitas? Have you ever thought about this? Throughout the process of describing the 6 paramitas, how do they actually benefit us? How do we benefit ourselves by practicing the 6 paramitas? Well, let me give you the answers. First of all, generosity helps open up our hearts. It teaches us how to embrace others, and it also helps us eliminate greed. As for discipline, it helps us maintain upright behavior and to protect ourselves from being harmed. And thirdly, patience helps us find real strength and courage. And fourthly, diligence gives us uninterrupted progress towards our goals and a better life. As for concentration, it helps us remain unaffected by the ever-changing world. As for wisdom, it gives us insight to dependent origination, cause and effect, emptiness, and impermanence. And I'm sure we will all benefit greatly from all of these 6 paramitas in the way which I have just described. Okay, next question. After talking about how we benefit ourselves with the 6 paramitas, how do we benefit the others with them? Let's look at them. So you can see generosity helps others make their lives better. And it brings happiness to other people. So by giving, we make other people happy. And we also help make their lives better. And as for discipline, discipline makes sure that we respect others of their rights. As for patience, we need to understand, accept, take responsibility, and resolve the problems we face. And in the process of doing so, we also teach other people to do the same. As for diligence, it's a constant reminder of others' suffering and continued awareness in impermanence. Therefore, a constant reminder of others' suffering will help us give rise to compassion. As for concentration, it helps focus our mind on achieving our goals. And sometimes this goal may well be helping other people or benefiting other people. And as for the paramita of wisdom, the insight to dependent origination, cause and effect, as well as emptiness and impermanence will of course benefit other people greatly. So to sum up today's session, let me give you the final points about the 6 paramitas. What are the 6 paramitas? They are the highest, the unsurpassed method of practice and cultivation on the Bodhisattva path of Mahayana wisdom. And the 6 paramitas are necessary if we are seeking enlightenment, and they are the ways to help us benefit ourselves and others. Last but not least, the 6 paramitas are deeply related to our lives, not separated. These are all the things which we must keep in our mind. So to sum up today's session, let's quickly go through the 6 paramitas again. The 6 paramitas consist of the paramita of generosity, the paramita of discipline, the paramita of endurance, the paramita of diligence, the paramita of concentration, and then the paramita of wisdom. So we'll stop here today. We hope you have enjoyed these 2 sessions. We'll see you next time.